Hello and welcome to today's video. We're going to cover the series from yesterday between Gen.g and FlyQuest. Predictions, I thought Gen.g would win this one 3-1. I thought they would disrespect Fly and give Fly a win, whether it was in a Game 3 2-0 scenario where Gen.g are, trying to play a game to try and get some champion skins or some shit, and Fly may be picking something that Gen.g aren't prepared for. I've said this for quite a while, if you're new to the channel, that Western teams and teams that are underdogs need to come in with a couple things in mind, and I believe FlyQuest did that completely yesterday, which is in part why they almost won the series. Like, up 2-1 on Gen.g, like, that's a pretty big deal for North America and the LCS. So, you got to play free, and they did. I think Inspired afterwards kind of, showed a little bit of that in his interviews. That you got to play without any pressure, and be willing to try different things. Like when you go in with nothing to lose, like Gen.g, all the pressure's on them, when they're down 2-1, like, oh crap, are we really gonna, like, that is a choke. That is choking, theoretically. Like, unless somebody's sick or something and we don't know it, I would say, like, what are we doing here? Like, this is not acceptable. And maybe it's, a shot at North America, but I think it's the fact of the matter, right? I think somebody said on the broadcast, North America are 15-85 against the LCK in international competition. So a 15% win rate over the entirety, right? So that is significant, because you're even looking at the case of, our 1 seed against a 4 seed. But here you have Gen.g, who, yes, were the 2nd seed in Korea, but still considered to be a world's in the world's favorite conversation, and then Fly. And so they come in free. They come in without expectation except to learn, to get better, to grow, and see what happens. And then they also come in with interesting picks. Game 1, Seraphine mid. Game 2, they bring out the new. I mean, hell, Game 5, the Fiddlesticks comes out. And I mean, I identified the Fiddlesticks as something that was a possibility the day before, because it is an Inspired special, and it is in a decent spot. Now, they lost Game 5, but there were interesting picks and different things chosen by Fly. Zeri mid. We're not seeing a lot of Zeri mid, right? So, just things that, I mean, honestly, not many people expected, right? And that gave them a chance. Game 1, I mean, they were... Gen.g weren't prepared for it because they banned the Seraphine out. They said, oh no, we're not dealing with this, because that was not expected. You just ate a ban. That is truly the epitome of what I'm saying when it comes to, you need to be willing to try different things that might work, catch the opponent off guard, and now they're not prepared for it, and they got to eat a ban. They're like, well, shit, we don't know what to do in these next 5 to 10 minutes in between games to figure out, what are we going to do if they pick this again? Do we have a plan? So, and in this 5-game series, I mean, outside of Game 4, and Game 4 was pretty lopsided in and of itself, but in terms of control, the lead changes in gold really weren't present. When you take in objectives and gold leads minute by minute throughout this series, and Fly benefit from Game 3 being like 46 minutes long, the series is only 52-48 in favor of Gen.g. Like, they only, I mean, the control was 52-48. A very close series, the closest of all the quarterfinals. And it is ironic because it was the one that was expected to be the most lopsided, an easy 3-0. Forget about it. Why is this on Sunday? And ended up being the best series. The most competitive one. The one that people are honestly going to remember from 2024 in terms of quarterfinals. It'll be, Fly almost won that. Masu played excellent League of Legends. Quad, Busio, Inspired, Bwipo, they really performed at a high level, and Gen.g struggled, but Pays came through. So he led 12-7-28, but 27% of damage. Canyon, 12-5-36. And Quad led for FlyQuest 13-10 and 24-31% of damage in the loss. And I'm not necessarily talking about what happened in these games as much as like how I feel about it and how I'm thinking it through. Like going after game one, I'm like, we got to get what's Canyon doing on Skarner here, right? So we're looking Skarner. He played Skarner, Nidalee, Sejuani, Nidalee, Skarner. And you notice the Nidalee games, he won both of those. And then in game five, they come through and they win. He's on the Skarner, a very strong pick, something gen.g had been picking. But in my opinion, to get back on track, you have to give Canyon the ball, right? So just like a traditional sport, you give him the ball. He's your best player. In my opinion, at an international event, Chovy may be the best player in the world, or second or third, or wherever you want to put him. You know he's in that conversation regardless of if he lost yesterday. But Canyon has proven at international events, give him the ball and let him carry. And he did put them back on track, in my opinion. Sejuani is not the type of pick you want Canyon on. So they put him on Nidalee a couple times, and supposedly Nidalee's supposed to be a new counter, which, funnily enough, it worked, right? In game two. And hell, I mean, once that happened, things were okay. Pays played Jinx. Ugh, that's a nasty pick right now. But Ashe, Ezreal, Ashe, and Ziggs. Ziggs is a nasty pick also, but somehow they win game five. I mean, they won it pretty handily, 93-7 split. I mean, like I said, these games, I mean, 97-3 for Fly, 100-0 for Gen, 95-5 for Fly, 80-20, and 93-7 for Gen. So it wasn't a, the games weren't back and forth. It was once one team got ahead, it was a matter of, how long was the game going to take. And the team never really relinquished that advantage all that much. I think one game maybe it was, they were close for a long time, don't get me wrong. It was one team fight away either way, but the one team stayed in the lead. And they didn't give it up. But just like in terms of just champions and thinking like that, and thinking about who's getting the resources, who's doing the work, it's just one of those things. Like even game one, Chovy was on Ari, and that's obviously like, Ari is a Knight and Chovy pick, like big time, like crazy ass win rates over their careers. And Chovy had like an 80 CS lead over Quad, and Quad was on the Seraphine. But he didn't do anything with that lead, which kind of is a Chovy special, right? And historically, right, he gets high resources, but the damage isn't always there. And Pays ended up having to really play out these team fights well as the series went along. So game one they lose, but once he got on the Ashe was a strong pick. The Ezreal in game three, they lost, but I thought he looked okay. But Ziggs, gen.g won, right? So it is what it is. But, that's a scare for gen.g. I do wonder, how many of those 80-20s or 90-10s in favor of gen.g into T1 are the same now after the FlyQuest series. You'd like to think it wouldn't be the case because we're hyper fixating on one series or two series for these teams, that, it'd be in a situation where we would hyper fixate on this one as well. But the fact of the matter is, this was like, they're prepared for the Nunu in game two. Fly probably shouldn't have picked Nunu on the first rotation. They should have probably picked it 4 or 5 if they're going to pick it at all. But the Seraphine was a massive pick. Like, that pick in and of itself made this a 5-game series, in my opinion, by eating bans and really putting gen.g in a position where they were uncomfortable. Like, that was huge. Fly put gen.g in an uncomfortable position. And that is how you win as an underdog. That is how you win as a Western team right now in League of Legends, until you can hands diff them straight up, which at times they were competitive. The young players of Masu Busio came through big time. Quad doing great against his former teammate in Chovy. And I have people in the comments, upset that I had Noah above Masu going to the tournament, and I don't think they want to remember MSI for some reason, and understandably so. Masu played like absolute trash at MSI. At this event, he's recovered, and he's shown that he can perform against these players. This is not the same team necessarily that lost to PSG. Not only in the not only in the thought that this is not the same 5-man roster, but it's that it learned, these guys learned from that experience. I mean, afterwards, it kind of seemed like they disrespected PSG, and and they learned from that, and their preparation for, the drafts that the coaching staff had for this were exceptional. Nuke Duck and Mithy, and I'm probably forgetting others, really deserve a lot of credit on FlyQuest staff for even making this the way it was, and developing these players. And we'll see what goes on going forward for Fly North America in general. I mean, I'm not a North America fan or anything, but I think they do. That is good for League of Legends if North America is solid. So, Gen.g coming away from this one, this is tough. This is tough. And they got to go against a T1 team that played the exact opposite version of League of Legends when you look at it. Very, very clean 3-0 of top esports. So, one team's coming in like a 10 out of 10, and this one's coming in at like a 6. So, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.